Welcome to Theme Weavers, your weekly wisdom for weaving yoga themes into your classes to inspire your students. I'm your host, Heidi Kasner. Let's get started. Welcome, Theme Weavers. Today we're going to look at how to deliver a Dharma talk and weave the myth of cow-faced pose, which addresses finding balance amidst opposing forces. If this is the first episode you've listened to, please go back and check out Season 1, Episode 2 for details and background on the structure of how and why to weave themes through your yoga classes. And if you choose to use today's teaching as your theme, then please find a way to turn my voice into yours. Make this theme authentic to you specifically. Thanks for tuning in. So let's dive into today's episode. Okay, yoga story time. Today I want to share with you the story behind Gomukhasana, cow face pose, a pose that embodies harmony, patience, and balance between opposites. I really love cow face pose on the bottom, the hip part, but the upper body is such a challenge for me, especially depending on which arm is on top. I was practicing this yesterday and I was like, with one arm I could clasp my hands behind me and the other hand, they're like a foot apart. It's wild, the imbalance between left and right. But the name Gomukhasana translates to cow face pose, and its myth connects to the revered symbolism of the cow in Hindu culture. If you remember in episode 1 of this season, I shared that the stories behind the poses often relate to deities, but sometimes they relate to animals or nature or other inspiration. Gomukhasana is one of those myths where it is based on an animal. The cow is seen as a symbol of abundance, nourishment, and selfless giving. Its serene face represents peace and acceptance, reminding us to approach life with humility and compassion. I love cows. They're so cute. I don't eat them, nor do I drink their milk, but a lot of people do, but I think they're so cute. I don't know why I just brought that up about eating them, but I don't, just so you know. But let me get back to the cows. So the myth begins with a sacred cow named Kamandenu, which described as the cow of plenty. Kamandenu would fulfill any wish, providing endless nourishment and support to those in need. She lived in peace, offering her gifts selflessly to humanity and the gods. However, one day, a great sage named Vashishta wished to perform a powerful ritual, and he needed Kamandenu's assistance. As the ritual unfolded, other sages and gods became envious of Kamandenu's gifts and tried to claim her for themselves. Despite their greed and chaos that came about around her, Kamandenu remained calm, continued to provide without hesitation. Her serenity and grace amidst the turmoil became a lesson in embodying balance, offering without expectation, standing firm yet remaining open. Can I just say really quick, because, well, I can, it's just me in my closet, but offering without expectation, we talk about this all the time because so many people give gifts so that way they can receive a gift back, or like they'll give a gift with the expectation that you're going to use it, and then they like keep asking you like, oh, you haven't used it yet, you haven't worn it yet, like why is that? And like you just feel this pressure to like use it or enjoy it because of what they offered versus like just offering for the sake of offering. If you know, you know. I feel like this is like a thing that my husband and I talk about a lot, and he made a rule that he no longer wants any physical items as gifts anymore because he can't handle the fact that people have an expectation whenever they offer. And he's like, just wish me a happy birthday and tell me you care about me. That's it. I don't want anything else. Like, I don't need items. I'm just done. So I don't know. It's a little tangents, but the offering without expectation reminded me of that. Okay, so cow face pose reflects Kamandenu's story by balancing the opposites within us. The crossed legs and intertwined arms of Gomukhasana create a shape that seems complex and asymmetrical at first glance. And it also could be, not at first glance, but just is. But for some, as they settle into the pose, they find a sense of unity and harmony. In life, we often feel pulled in opposing directions. I talk about this a lot, right? I talked about this last week. Work and rest, giving and receiving, action and reflection. We're pulled in a lot of directions. Kamandenu's story reminds us that balance is not about choosing one side, but learning to hold space for both with grace. I also think about those moments of holding space for both with grace, even when chaos is happening around you. It's super hard. It's just hard, but that's part of the practice, right? Think about moments in your life when you felt stretched too thin, perhaps giving too much of yourself without replenishing, or being so focused on personal goals that you forgot to connect with others. This myth teaches us to find harmony in those moments, embracing both selflessness and self-care. It's a common theme, right? I keep talking about this relating to different myths. The challenge lies in staying open without becoming depleted, standing firm without closing off. When we find this balance, we can give generously without losing ourselves and receiving fully without guilt. I have an example of that, but let me just finish the Dharma talk and then I'll remember to come back to it, I hope. As we move through our practice today, let Gomukhasana guide you. Feel the grounding of your seated base and the openness of your chest. Notice how the pose asks for both effort and ease, creating space while embracing complexity. Let it remind you of your ability to hold opposites in balance and to find calm amidst life's chaos. All right, so the story I was just going to tell you. Last night, I was at a play practice for a musical that I'm in. And a gentleman came up to me after and said he had a question for me. I'm like, yeah, okay. And he brought up a volunteer committee. And before he even finished, I was like, no. He's like, you didn't let me finish what I was asking. I'm like, you're going to ask me to chair the committee. No, hard no. I'm working on saying no. I used to say yes to everything until I got so burnt out that now I'm like, yay, it's the year of no. He's like, but I wasn't going to ask you. I was going to ask you if you knew of anybody that would be good for it. And I was like, oh. So I realized, because of past experiences of feeling, totally depleted and just giving without actually feeling balance in my life, I was not in a space of balance, and I totally closed myself off to both showing the respect to a person who was asking me a question and showing myself respect to like being able to acknowledge that there might be an intermediate between yes and no. Right. So that's the example that I was thinking of in that experience. But all right, let's get back to it. So before I bring us to the next part about bringing the theme alive, I did want to interrupt with a few announcements. Usually I give these at the beginning, but I'm trying it in the middle today. So if you're enjoying Theme Weavers, please leave a 5-star review and maybe even some comments wherever you listen to your podcast, and also follow the show. It makes a difference for the algorithm to recommend the show to other people, so I really appreciate it. You can find Theme Weavers on all of the social channels to keep up to date with some fun reels and posts that I share as well. I'm really grateful to each of you who listen, and the more you share and interact, the more energy and excitement that sends my way, so thank you. And if you are so inclined and enjoy the podcast, there is an option to set up a subscription to Theme Weavers for a small monthly fee. I think it's like under $5. If you're a chromatic yoga teacher especially, consider subscribing to the podcast as a paid subscriber. You're able to track your listening hours on your own and submit them as continuing education for chromatic yoga. So that's pretty cool. You can reach out to me at themeweaverspodcast@gmail.com if you have questions on that. And lastly, just 2 pieces of quick, exciting news. You've heard me say it before. We launched Theme Weavers Academy. It's a really quick, practical course to help you create impactful yoga classes and theme with confidence and creativity. The link's in the show notes down below. And I wrote a book called Energize Your Life, a chakra workbook for personal transformation. You can also check out the link below to see that. I'm really excited about it, and it's been received really well, so I'm very grateful. I'm actually super pumped. I'm going on a virtual workshop to provide for a yoga teacher training to come and talk about the book and take people through a whole chakra training and experience. So what a cool opportunity. So if you have a yoga school and you're interested, let me know. All right, back to the show. So your Dharma Talk story time's finished, and now it's time to get into the part of class where we find a phrase to drop, like little breadcrumbs throughout class at different points to help your students come back to this idea of the myth of cow-faced pose. You follow the breadcrumbs, then you stay on course and remind your students what we're really here practicing beyond just the physical. Some options I like to use, I'm sure you'll have others, and I'd love to hear them. First is feel the balance between effort and surrender. The next is open your heart, even when it's complex and challenging. Or how about, can you give generously without losing yourself? Or perhaps, can you give without expectation of anything in return? I love those two. This one too is another question. I love questions. Can you embrace harmony between opposites? Or how about, where in my life can I give without losing myself? Or how can I stay open and generous while protecting my own energy? Ugh, these are such good questions. So important, so reflective, so necessary. Okay, so now we got our thematic 3-line phrase. So let's have a quick chat about how we bring all of this alive in our class. What additional things do you think we should hit on? Things like peak poses or specific pranayamas or anything else really related to the myth of cow face pose, Gomukhasana. So obviously cow face is our peak pose. There are different variations. You could do just the arms, you could do just the legs, you could do both. You could stay upright in your cow face, you could fold forward in your cow face. There's all these different variations that you can take. And you can take the arms within like other postures. You can be a warrior 2 with cow face arms, warrior 3 in cow face arms. Like there's so many choices. So I think it's a pretty fun one to play with. And for a lot of people, it's pretty challenging, which is very useful to have in your classes as well. If you're a quote person, some quotes that are related to the myth, in my opinion, that you could use. This one's by Betsy Jacobson. Balance is not better time management, but better boundary management. I'll say it again. Balance is not better time management, but better boundary management. Or this one is an unknown author. Serenity is not freedom from the storm, but peace amidst the storm. Or this one is Jana Kingsford. Balance is not something you find, it's something you create. It's cool because most of these work for this class because we're balancing like the left and the right side and balancing like what we have to give of ourselves versus like what we need. But these quotes could work with any balancing pose class as well. That doesn't have to just be this one. If you're into mantra, maybe Om Shrim Kamandenu Namaha, which means salutations to Kamandenu, the giver of abundance. Or if you want to use pranayama, there's Samavriti, which is equal ratio breathing for balance and calm. That's when like the inhales and the exhales are the same. That helps you balance things out. You could also do a guided meditation, a visualization, where you have your students visualize Kamandenu, the sacred cow, standing calmly amidst the chaos. With each breath, feel her serenity and grace infuse you, helping you balance effort with ease, giving with receiving. It's like a really nice thing, especially before Shavasana, to potentially guide your students to connect with. I really like that. All right, that's what I have for you today. So let's wrap it up with a reverse Dharma talk. So the closing of the class, something to bring us back to the theme again and leave us inspired as we walk off of our mats into our days. So I might say, as you prepare to step off your mat, take a moment to reflect on Kamandenu's story and the lesson of cow face pose, Gomukhasana. Life will always present challenges and moments of imbalance, but like Kamandenu, you have the capacity to remain grounded and calm, finding peace in the midst of chaos and complexity. Ask yourself, where in my life can I give without losing myself? How can I stay open and generous while protecting my own energy? Balance is a practice, not a destination, and every step you take toward harmony brings greater peace and connection. Okay, if you liked this yoga story time, find a way to bring the theme alive in your own voice, in your own practice and teaching. The story of Kamandenu and cow face pose Gomukhasana teaches us to find balance amidst opposing forces, embodying serenity, generosity, and grace. May this myth inspire you to seek harmony within yourself and your life, both on and off of the mat. Then please reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, or email and let me know how it lands. I'm here to support you, fellow yoga teacher, in your class preparation and delivery. So let me know how I can be of the most support. Tune in next time for a new myth for inspiration for your classes. And don't forget to check out our course, Theme Weavers Academy, Crafting Impactful Classes. Click the link in the show notes to learn more and enroll. Thanks so much. I'm trying to keep a lot of these episodes a little bit shorter so it's more digestible. You can take in the information and then go teach a class on it. That's my hope. Let me know if it's landing, please. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you next week with a new myth and modern inspiration to bring to your practice and your teaching. See you next time.